I thought I had this huge opportunity coming my way. I thought that things were going to be different since I was poached to join a brand new project in the military. I worked so hard to get to where I am, only to have one man destroy everything. I was 18 when I decided to join the Air Force. I didn't need to. I wasn't forced to like the boys are, but since I didn't know what to do in life, and my mother was also in the military, she was really pushing for me to join. So I did. When I first started, my mother's words of being hardworking and giving yourself no excuse were my main motivation to get through the intense training. After a grueling year in the basic military school and Air Force school, I became commissioned. I was a technician of a huge aircraft, and I had to face new challenges from fixing a huge transport carrier aircraft. I loved increasing my knowledge on the aircraft systems to help my squadron through numerous successful missions. I became really good at what I was doing, so much so that I was poached to join a new platform. Young and ambitious, I was so proud of myself. Nothing could stop me. I felt like I was on the peak of my career. The new platform consisted of people from various platforms, so our ideology of how a new squadron should work out was different from one person to the next. While the fighter techs have a serious rank hierarchy mindset, the transport aircraft techs have a more friendly approach. Ranks didn't matter much as long as the respect is there and if we didn't go out of line. We talked and behaved with the level of respect that work friends usually have for each other. My new superior was a tyrant. He gets angry easily at us for not listening to his way of getting things done, even when he is so clearly wrong. He rarely empathized with our plight and only cared about how the officers see him leading us to mission success. It was absolute hell to work under him. At first, if I made a slight error, or I was late for morning roll call by 5 minutes, he would yell at me in front of everybody. But behind the scenes, he would playfully pull my hair, nudge my forehead with his finger, or pull my earlobe and jokingly ask me to watch myself. He was also always telling me how much he hates to punish me. I shrugged it off as him being bipolar, thinking that maybe he was one of the older generation that actually values having a female in his squadron. Again, it was rare to have girls in the military in my country. Since I disliked the idea of treating people badly, I just continued smiling at him and apologizing for my ill discipline. But it only somehow encouraged him to behave even more inappropriately towards me. It started getting worse when he would say how I should go on overseas exercises with him because then that way he can go drinking with me. He'd also say how I should forget that I have a husband and just let loose, and that he can't wait to bring me around if we do go on such overseas detachments. I didn't want to talk back at him, so I lightly retaliated with, "Nah, I probably will miss my family and husband too much." But he just jokingly barked, "It's an order!" I chose to keep quiet most of the time because I really didn't want to talk back and humiliate him in front of everyone. And also, I was scared because his rank was higher than mine. But it only escalated after that. He started touching me. He would rest his chin on my head while I was trying to explain to him something on the computers. He'd pat me on my thighs, complimenting my reports, and he'd rest his hands on my shoulders. One time, he even started playing with my earlobe, which made me jump and move away from him. I was so uncomfortable that I started putting more obvious distance between us. I stopped smiling at him. I always made sure somebody was in the room with us if he ever wanted to speak to me alone. He didn't get it, or he didn't care and continued. He started pressing his face closely every time he could get the opportunity and asked me to smile at him. I refused and told him I'm uncomfortable. One day, there was an exercise when we were overseas. I chose to go out alone during my duty off instead of joining my squadron. Whenever he texted me to ask where I was or if I wanted to join him for dinner and drinking, I ignored him. He got frustrated and ordered me to text him where I was every hour, even after my duty, to report where I was or who I was with. I continued to refuse joining him for anything except work during the whole exercise. When we got back, things worsened. He started yelling at how useless I am over the tiniest mistake. In front of everybody, of course. He started to verbally insult me in full view of the officers and my juniors. He made sure I was the first to come in and the last to return every single shift, every single day. The amount of work unrelated to my mission steadily grew, and when I asked for help, none came. My mom's words and my husband's love and support helped me through. I carried out my duty and completed all extra tasks by burning off long hours. I just stayed focused on my task and tried not to think about anything else. My officers picked it up and decided to give me a promotion. I was over the moon. I thought I was finally going to be free. But then he intervened by telling them I was lazy and slow and that I don't deserve it. When I found out, I went to confront him, and instead of explaining himself, he just got angrier and told me that I should beg and cry for him to forgive my imprudence. He wouldn't listen to anything I was saying and just told me that I was being disrespectful to him and that I should know my place. Pretty much saying that I was too beneath him to talk to him like that. I hit an all-time low and I stopped being my cheerful self. And from that point on, he would find every opportunity to scream and mentally harass me in front of everyone. I never felt so down, and I just didn't know what to do. So most of the time, I would just stand there and let him yell at me. What else could I do? But it still wasn't over. Despite our confrontation, he took advantage of my weakened state and continued to touch me the smallest ways when nobody was watching. I was very close to giving up on everything. I just wanted to end my life and end my suffering. Everything seemed dark and bleak. There was nothing left for me to work hard for. I loved my job, and I loved being the proud daughter of my country, serving and protecting the citizens. But I couldn't see that anymore. I was tormented and trapped. I went on what I thought was my last exercise half-heartedly. It was there that I met my ex-squadron mates. We met up after duty for dinner and drinks. I broke down and told them how I regret leaving my previous squadron and everything that had happened to me. I told them I was scared that if I reported him, my officers would condemn me and my coworkers would judge me. I told them all my fears that people would say I led him on and did not resist and that it's all my fault. I was so terrified of what would happen if I reported him and if the management decided to cover things up. Then he would really make a living hell out of what was left of my already miserable life. They talked me into feeling better, telling me that it wasn't my fault, and reminding me that my husband would be so upset if I had really decided to end my life. They reassured me that nothing bad will happen to me, and that they will always support me. Even if the management decided to cover it all up, they would appeal to have me join my previous squadron, or they would help me find a new job. When I got home, I told my husband everything. At first, he was angry with how I chose to be a silent victim, but he ultimately told me that if I decided to quit, he would have my back. He told me how much he loved me, and that the days when I stopped being cheerful made him heartbroken, and that he had no idea what was going on and how helpless he felt. Eventually, after the countless encouragement of my mates and my husband, I lodged a formal complaint. He was discharged of service, and I never saw him again. Even though some people in my squadron secretly talk behind my back or judge me, it doesn't matter because I know I stood up for myself and that my mates will always have my back. I got out of depression with tremendous help from my husband, and my hard work continued pushing me even further now at work. Through this ordeal, I just want all women to know that it is alright to be afraid. If somebody of a more superior rank is disrespectful to you, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid of what might happen afterwards. There's always somebody there to watch your back, and that you really don't need to be afraid of speaking up about something wrong. I was afraid for so long, but finally I refused to let a man get away with something he felt he could get away with. And that was the best decision ever.